All right.
Hello. Hi. Can everyone over in the comments hear me? I'm assuming they can. Cool. All right. Hi. I'm Paul,
And I'm Patrick.
and we're going to be giving our workshop talk on securing our Discord with check-in bots. Oh, Patrick is gone. Oh no,
No,
he's there.
I'm still here.
Oh,
Uh-oh. Or there she
there
is.
we go.
Okay.
No worries.
All right.
All right.
We're going to
Awesome.
blame John for that one.
Yeah. Thanks, John. It's okay. So, before we get started, we're going to do a little bit about who we are as human beings. I'm Paul. I'm an organizer for Sunhacks. I've been an organizer for Sunhacks for a while. I do space things over at NASA JPL. I'm a PhD student, and I drink a lot of coffee.
And I'm
This is
Patrick.
like my
I'm an organizer for Hack the Borough. I've been that for a little less time than Paul's been a Sun Hacks organizer, but still. I'm an underwater man and a desperate coffee addict. And Paul and I have been working together on stuff for like 3 years now. It's crazy.
yeah yeah. We met at
We,
we
we,
met
we
at NASA a long time ago, and we've been working on making technologies for our hackathons. Specifically, what we do, who we are. We're directors of technology at our individual hackathons. If your hackathon doesn't have a tech team, this is kind of what we do. We build technologies to make everything run smoothly for our hackathon. So that might be building our check-in website, building the registration system, so that way people can register for your events, the actual website where people go to go check out what your event's about, and then tools in between. So for judging, and in particular today, for checking into your event.
yes. Usually they work flawlessly. Sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes they
this will be
don't.
a fun presentation. We'll see if things work flawlessly today. I hope they do. But before we begin, let's take us back in time to the year 2019, before every hackathon was virtual. And I want you to picture yourself. You registered for a hackathon. It's the day of. You walk in, and what's the very first thing you see at the hackathon? The check-in desk. It's the desk that every hacker will have to go through. It'll have organizers behind or volunteers sitting there waiting, so that way they can get your ID, a QR code, something to link you to your registration. This check-in desk ensures that only the people entering the event are people that are registered for the event. And it also makes sure that everyone entering has the same information and everything. So they get the same swag. They get told that dinner is going to be at 10 and it'll be pizza. And locks down your event to make sure that everybody in the building or in wherever you're having it is somebody that should be there. Somebody that is registered for your event. You said, we want to have you come. Here's, all the information you need to know. And then they're there.
Problem is
But
now, because of the plague, everyone's on their computers. So we don't actually have a real physical front desk to guide our hackers into our events. Because we have no physical location at all, anybody from anywhere, if they find an invite, find the link to the server, they can just wander in. There's no identity verification by default. And we don't have check-in logs, so we don't know who was at our event, when they were at our event, when they got there, what what the association between their Discord presence and their registration presence is, which is super fun if you want, for example, MLH to know who went to your hackathon.
yeah,
Um,
when you fill out your postmortem and you're like, here's a list of hackers that attended. It's a bunch of Discord usernames. They won't be very happy with you.
Take it from experience.
Yes. um, Also, in the case of Hack the Berg last year, do you want to talk the little
Yeah, of
story you have
course.
about?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we had an issue last year where one of somebody did exactly this. They one person on there was registered for the hackathon, and they invited a bunch of their friends. They submitted a project which was plagiarized from VT Hacks. Um, they ended up winning second place, and we didn't catch them until during the prize ceremony. Uh, and so not only did they plagiarize it, they weren't supposed to be there, so it was a whole incident. What a headache. So we
And it
want
would have been
to try to
solved if
avoid
we,
that.
are able to link people to the registration. So it's not just anonymous Discord user. It's person whose registration we have on hand.
Exactly.
So in order to fix this, last year, both of us built Discord bots. Essentially, it was a Discord bot that if a random person just found your server invite and they went to your Discord, they wouldn't be able to get into it. They would be stuck at a check-in desk where they have to click a button, or in the back then it was an emoji. And once they were able to clicking that, they'd have to validate that they were a registered user for your event. And once they got validated, they got their hacker role for our server, and then they could see all the channels. So they could go to the random channel, they can go to the memes channel and post memes like this one that we made, and it allows them to be on the server. But if they don't check in, they can't enter in at all. They only see the check-in desk and maybe the rules desk.
So let's talk a little bit about what actually is a Discord bot, right? So a Discord bot is basically just a virtual user, right? So it acts as if it's a real person on your server, but it's actually secretly run by the computers. So what it can DM users, we can perform actions on behalf of our programmers. And the nice thing about them is that they're really natural to use and talk to, right? They just look like regular users. So people who use Discord, and if we were running a Discord hackathon, there's no extra learning curve to like try to use a Discord bot. You can just talk to them, right? And the Discord specifically also has a really nice API, making it very easy for us to make them. That's why these things end up Discord bots are used in many servers, and they're kind of like used for moderation or like controlling music or whatever. They're wonderful little things. That's what we're going to be using today.
And so now we're going to do something extremely fun and risky, which is doing a live coding demo at Hackcon, trying to build an entire Discord bot from scratch, kind of scratch, and fitting it all within this 45-minute workshop window.
Yes.
With that in mind, I'm going to say that coding along in real time is probably not the best thing. We've prepared a couple little things where we've set up some things that we have tutorials for, and they'll be walked through, and we'll have the resources for them. But for the purpose of this hackathon, or for this very short window, it kind of is a hackathon putting this together. We want to fit within the window, especially because Marbles on Stream is like right after this, and we don't want to miss that. So, yeah.
And you guys don't want to miss it either.
Yeah, it'll be fun, I promise you.
All right. So yeah. With that in mind, here's something we baked earlier, like Julia Child pulling a full chicken out of the oven. So here's our example Discord server here. Let me go ahead, and because I'm not registered with a bot, I'm gonna click register here. Our registration bot will DM me for the message history. This is my email. If anybody wants,
this would normally be like you registered for the event 2 weeks ago through a website or something, and there's that. But for our hackathon that we're making, and you're all invited to today, you will see this.
All right.
And to answer the question, what stack are you going to use? You'll see, and it's horrendous, but it'll be great.
So this is here what we're going to be building. So here's a little bot. We have a button that we can click to check in. We click check in. It's going to DM us. We're going to reply with our email to start. And if we were very lucky, it'll DM us back with the starting check-in. And usually would email us or demo code. We made it just text it to us because I'm not going to go digging through my email on a stream.
It could be fun. We might see some.
It could be fun,
things.
but it probably won't be. Send a reply with my invite code, and they're like, "Hey, welcome to Hackcon Hacks." And now, if you see, I can now see the cool kids only item there, channel there, and I can actually interact with that. Whereas before I could not, and it's also given me the hacker role, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
If you would like. Yeah, and if you want to go try out playing with the bot and seeing it, we actually have the server invite here, Kage/X, that server invite. And you can join our server and register for our hackathon and check into our hackathon and be a cool kid in our Cool Kids Only channel. But now we're going to talk a little bit. Now we're going to go into how we build the thing. So to start off, like the high level, we're going to talk about what is this process of checking in. So in a virtual environment, a hacker is going to come through and they're going to walk up to our check-in desk, which will be in the channel, and they're going to click the button to check in. That button will then, when they click the button, the bot will then send a DM to the hacker saying like, hey, thanks for starting check-in. What email address did you use for registration? The hacker will then say, I use this email address. They'll DM their email address back, and our bot will then go look up in our database and say, okay, is this an email that has registered? If they are, we're going to write down their Discord username and any associated information, and then we're going to email them a verification code to say, okay, you say that's the email you use for registration. Let's do the two-factor verification to make sure that you have access to that email. because we don't want someone to be like, oh yeah, I'm you know I'm John Marco. This is my email. I totally am. Sign me in as this person. You don't want that. uh, Once we get the verification code from our email, we then send that back to the bot, and then the bot says, awesome, welcome to the hackathon. Here are your roles. Pizza's at 10. You have to order it yourself because this is a virtual hackathon. Um, so what are some of the requirements we need for this? So that's kind of the high level overview, but now we're going to talk a little bit into the nitty gritty of what should our bot do to ensure our server is secure.
Exactly. So this is kind of what we're gonna need, right? So for starters, our whatever solution that we need, what we're gonna build, we need to make sure that we block people from either checking in twice, reusing invite codes, um, getting in when they're not allowed, when they're not registered at all, that kind of thing. We also want to make sure that whatever service we have, it is easily deployable so that we can make changes quickly, or if there's an emergency or whatever, we're like, oh my god, something's broken, or we need to update whatever. We don't have to SSH into a DigitalOcean or whatever, or other VPS provider. We can just make a quick change and deploy it directly from our browser. We want to make sure that we have some way of storing state as well. So DMing is sort of inherently a stateless process, and the process that we're trying to do is stateful. So we need some way to bridge that. So we need some kind of database. And then lastly, we want to have our solution to be as simple and accessible as possible so that hackers and organizers can both be like, okay, let's just get this. It's as easy to use as possible so we can continue maintaining and deploying this in the future.
Yep. So in order to get this done, we have our very cursed tech stack, which somebody asked about in chat. Our backend for this, we're going to be using Autocode. Autocode is a node-based system that lets you spin up endpoints for different interactions. So in our case, our interactions are all going to be from our front end, which is going to be Discord. So that's interactions like when the user clicks the button, fire this block of code. When the user sends a DM over to our bot, fire this block of code. For our stateful memory and everything, we're going to have our database, which I put in heavy quotation marks because we're going to be using Google Sheets for this. Google Sheets should not be used as a database, and I don't care what Patrick tells you. Please do not use Google Sheets as a database, but you can. And for the purposes of this demo, we're going to be using it so that way we can peek into our database pretty easily just by opening up the spreadsheet. And then for email, because we didn't really want to go through how you set up Amazon SES and get the email all situated and everything. And also, we don't really want to open up our emails on chat so you can see my research papers and everything. We're just going to be looking over at the spreadsheet, and it will say what our invite code is after we send the invite code over to us.
All right.
And so now let's begin with setting up the new project. So
all right, let's swap over. Hello, welcome to my computer again. Here is Autocode. Autocode's a wonderful little service. We're going to make a new Autocode project here.
Yeah.
And we're going to close out this guy here. Okay. Cool. And we're going to link some resources as well. So we're going to go over here. This platform does let you, when you're linking your resources, it walks you through this wonderful little like wizard and shows you exactly what to do. For us, we're not going to do that because we don't really have time. So we're going to add one.
We would love to,
earlier.
But I promise you, it is very easy to walk through. If the Autocode people are out there in chat right now, they did a wonderful job at making a really easy to follow tutorial on how to link all these resources. So thank you.
Exactly. So yeah, we're going to link Google Sheets, and we're going to link our database here. So this is our bot. We already put him in the server. And then here's Google Sheets. Here's our database here.
So this would be our registrations that we collected. So our registration only had 3 things: what's your name, what's your email, and what's your favorite color. And so we only got 2 people that wanted to attend our hackathon, and it's me and Patrick.
Yes. Okay.
So now we're going to set up a couple things on Discord and Google Sheets. So on Discord, we need to set up our developer mode, so that way we can access all the ID information we need. We're then going to set up some channels, so that way that's where people will check in, set up some roles, and then set up some permissions, so that way we can lock down our server and make sure that only people on the server are the people that have checked in. We're then going to go over to our Google Sheets and modify our database to add a couple new columns that are specific to what we need for check-in.
All right. So let's get this started here. So let me put this back. Welcome back to my computer. First thing we're going to do, we're going to turn on developer mode in Discord. So we're going to go over to advanced,
Yeah. We also have a
and
question
then
in chat.
into
Is autocode an API? Autocode
auto.
is more of a
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
development platform. I don't, what would you say, Patrick?
It's basically like, imagine if AWS Lambda didn't suck. That's autocode. It's really
Yeah.
nice, and it has great integration. Basically, the whole point is you take. It's also previously known as standard library. If you guys might know it by that name. Basically, it takes APIs and then provides a nice sort of web IDE that you can plug those into each other and then deploy them into the cloud without really any worrying about specific deployments or API keys or
Yeah.
anything. It handles it all
And you'll
for you.
see all of that when we put it together. Like
Yeah.
we'll be building it in autocode, so you'll see. Okay, so
Yes.
developer settings. So that's settings.
Yep, we already said that.
Perfect. Next thing we're going to do is
So
we're going to make a new role.
right. So we've got a couple roles already. We're going to make a new role for our new second secret hackathon. So we're going to call it Double Secret Hacker. You're going to be
Yeah.
watching me type very slowly here. We're going to make it green because green is the sneakiest color. And yeah, there we go. We've created our double secret hacker role. Also, we're going to make sure that when you just wander into the server here, the default permissions, make sure that this switch to view all channels is off. So you can only see the channels that we explicitly tell unregistered people that they can see. All right. So next up, we're going to make a check-in channel. So we're going to call it just check-in. That's appropriate. And then we're going to head over to the permissions. At everyone should be able to see the check-in channel.
Can you scroll a little bit, Patrick? Yeah, there we go.
Yep. Excellent. Oh yeah, sorry, it was behind
It was behind
the slides.
If you want to know how we made this presentation, it'll be really fun because that slideshow that you see on his screen share is actually me. Oh,
that's great. So we have the double secret hacker lounge, and we're going to make sure that permissions add a role to double secret hackers that they can make sure that they can see this channel. Again, there we are. Save our changes. And excellent. Okay, so that's basically all the setup that we need here. So let's copy down some environment variables, right? So let's get the ID of our server, right? And let's set it in environment variables.
Yep. So environment variables are basically variables that we can use across our entire application. So in this case, if we might need our guild ID in multiple different things, so we keep track of that. Also, Discord uses archaic guild. They used to be called guilds and not servers, so it's still labeled as guild ID.
We also got to grab the role ID here, so the ID of our hacker role. So we'll copy that and just make sure that the hacker role is below the bots that we're doing. So our live bot demo is the one that we're using here. So as long as it's above the double secret hacker role, then it can assign that to other people. So that's our hacker role ID. And last but not least, we need the channel ID of the check-in channel. Which we're just going to go back here, right-click, and copy ID. If you're wondering, by the way, the reason why we can right-click and see copy ID is because of developer mode. That's why we turned it on. So we'll paste that here and save our changes. Excellent. All right.
Now we need to set up our database.
Database. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to copy the columns here. But we have basically invite code. We're storing the Discord ID, Discord username, discriminator expiration, and whether or not they've already checked in the invite code expiration. So now,
so invite code
with all the changes that we needed.
Yeah, invite code will be the code that we send out to somebody. So when we send the code to somebody, and then we will store it in the database so that way we can retrieve it later. And then expiration is to know whether or not the code expired.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so let's get cracking because we're kind of already tight. So the next step is
The next step
we
is
should
building a
be
button.
building the button. All right, so let's head over to AutoCode here.
I
If
got
we
it for
scroll
you.
down,
Paste.
oh, you got it
Yeah,
for me?
that works.
All right,
Yeah.
perfect. So if you scroll down to the bottom, there's this link here called the Embed Builder, which lets us put together Discord embed. There it is. All right. So this lets us build like rich presence stuff for Discord. I'm going to, so you guys can see the preview. Move that down. Okay. So check in. Uh, click below to check in. And then we're going to add a button here. Button label is check in. Um, we are going to call it check underscore in. Let's make sure we remember this as well.
So
And
later
then we're
on,
going
that custom. Sorry, the
to,
later
yes,
on the
no, go
custom
for it.
ID is used to make sure that we know what button was pressed. So if there was like multiple buttons that our bot spun up, we know which button's which.
Yep. We just click copy the code to clipboard and it will have already made all the code for us already. So you can just paste that here. This is just a random request here. We're just going to run the trigger this manually. Also, we're going to make sure that we know which um, channel to dump this message in, right? So we'll put it in our environment variable that we said earlier to channel ID. We have to save the project as I'm going to call it live demo. Saving the project. We're
So
going to wait for this little dingus
to
to
answer the
spin.
question in chat about is this going to be front end? The front end of this will be our interactions with Discord, but all of the endpoints will all be back end endpoints that only Discord can access.
Yes. And now if we click run, if we've been very lucky, nothing happened, but I heard a message drop into Discord. And if you look at the check-in channel, we did it.
Ta-da! There's a check-in button.
Excellent.
Live chicken demo bot. All right.
Yes.
So now we need to
If we
connect
click the
that
button, it doesn't do anything though. So we need to actually wire that up. But let's talk about what we're actually going to wire it up to.
So the next step that we need to do is we need to create a new endpoint, and that endpoint will be triggered anytime the button is clicked. So when a user clicks the button, then it will send a DM to the hacker asking for their email address. AutoCode makes this very simple, which is nice.
Yes. So let's do it. Let's go back to here. You guys can still see that. Perfect. All right. So let's go over to make a new endpoint. I'm going to say, okay, when we get a Discord button interaction from the button check-in, remember the one that we said earlier, then we should DM the user. So why don't we do that? So first off, let's get the, oops a daisy. Let's get the user ID.
Yep, there we go. Sorry about that.
Oh, thanks.
Try it now.
Oh, you're good. We have the user ID. So context parameters contains the sort of payload that we got our endpoint called with. Here's an example. And then, oopsie, we're going to DM the user, right? So this is really cool, really the killer feature of AutoCode. libdiscord.dm, sending DM to user by ID. Recipient ID is the one that we have found earlier, and the content is, hi, respond with your email to check in. Finish configuring. And now if we save that, you can see that this is now deploying, and it's live. So now if we go over to check in and click the check-in button, we should get a DM, and we did. Ignore the rest of the message history. This is not the first time we've tested this.
Yes, it's a very long message history. But yeah, as you can see, now the button is linked to that interaction in AutoCode, and we're able to do things with it. So now we're going to handle what happens when you get a DM. So hacker's going to come through and they're going to send a DM. We need to create an endpoint that triggers anytime the bot gets a DM, regardless of what the DM is. Then we're going to do a little bit of error handling. So if the DM we got looks like an email address, We're going to go check our database to see if that email exists in it, but we're also going to check to see if that Discord is already there. Because remember, we want to make sure that one person isn't like checking in multiple times or anything. We're then going to verify that the current user is able to check in with that email, and then we're going to generate a verification code and then send that over to them, as well as writing it into our database.
All right. So let's actually go ahead and do that. Welcome back to my computer. I'm going to create another endpoint, again from Discord. And now we're going to do dm.create. So if someone DMs us, we'll know about it. And this function here will fire, right? So first thing we're going to need is we're going to need to get the actual message and some of the information about the author. Remember, this again comes just from the payload that we have received. This is like an example of one of these, but basically message is the message content. Author is like this little nugget there.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you're wondering how Patrick's able to paste things with such speed, I'm actually controlling his clipboard right now.
Yes,
which is fun.
We wrote a whole thing so that we could finish this in 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we're gonna need some helper functions. So if we want to check if they've DM'd us an email, we need to wait to see if something is an email. We stole this from Hack Overflow. It's horrifying, but it works reasonably well. Also, we're gonna need to have a function for generating an invite code. So here's a function that does exactly that. This returns like OX and then an 8-digit hex code, like a pointer. The really important part here is the OX, which means that, or 0x, which means that we know that if they text us something that starts with 0x, then that's an invite code, right? That makes it our logic later on very easy. All right, so we need a couple more helper functions as well. So we want to be able to get users by their email and the Discord ID, right? So we want to be able to give our database an email or give it a Discord ID and return the same row. So let's start with the email. And this is really the fun stuff here. Autocode ships with a really cool integration. So let's do this. So await lib.discord, lib.google sheets dot select rows from spreadsheet by querying it like a database. Range, we're going to double check our database, but we go from A to I. That's where our data lives. So
and
we're going to look
over in chat, that regex does give me anxiety too, in case you're wondering.
Yes. Oh yeah. No, I'm not happy about it, but it works. And that's the real hackathon spirit. Anyway, so we're going to do this. We're going to say where our email is equal to the argument that we got from that function, which in this case is email. And that's it. And we hit finish configuring it. It makes all the code for us.
Yeah. Finish configuring is underneath the little slideshow, but there is a button to finish configuring. Yes.
Yeah, let me move this up so you can see it. Hopefully that'll be better. I don't know. Okay. And then this little thing gets at the end just says, hey, if we got any rows, return the first one. Otherwise, return null. So like basically a poor man's monad. All right. So next up, we're going to do basically the same thing for Discord, where we're going to go and say const record equals await lib.google sheets dot select here A through I is a row. We don't have to specify this thing by default. It's the spreadsheet that we linked, where Discord ID, which is the name in our database, is equal to the function argument, which again here is Discord ID.
Discord.id, but yeah.
This one takes the argument, I think, Discord ID.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're right. My bad.
Yeah. Oh, you're good. And then again, we have the same little thing where we just pick the thing. One last thing we're gonna make really quick as well before we get into it. We're going to just make a helper function to DM a user with some text. So await lib.discord.dm a user by ID. Recipient ID is Discord. This one is the global one for some reason. And then we just have the argument there. And that's it. And that creates our DM. All right. So now it is actually time to open up the the resolving based on our message, right? So let's end helpers and begin real code. So our user, first we're going to just see, we get our user by our Discord. All right, so we just try to get the row based on the user Discord ID, right? Then we're going to check if the thing that we got is a message.
It's an
And if
email.
so, we're gonna it's a message we got. Is that an email? And if so, we're gonna print it out. Otherwise, we're gonna respond to the email, the user like, "Hey, we don't know what you're trying to tell us here." Next up, we're going to try to resolve the email in the database as well. So we get user by email. So we're gonna just look them up, and they'll tell us whether they exist or not. And then let's just print it out for good measure. All right. So now let's actually handle what can happen.
So here are a couple of the errors that you might run into with a user trying to come in. First off, their email's not in the database. They never registered for the event, so we don't actually have an email for them. So we say, unable to find your registration. Next, email's already checked in with a different Discord. That means that the registration is already linked to a different account. We need to tell them, you're already checked in with a different Discord account. Please DM us if you have any questions or anything like that. The alternative way, Discord's already checked in with a different email, so they're trying to check in with a different email address than the one that they're already checked in with. Then we let them know you're already checked in and it's a different registration. And then finally, they're already checked in general, in which case we just tell you you're already checked in.
Perfect. So let's turn that into code. We did it earlier because we have 15 minutes left in this talk. So let's paste this all. These are basically literally in the order that Paul just said them. Check the emails in the database. Check if it's already linked to a different ID. Also, check if they're already linked in, already checked in with a different email, or if they've already checked in general. If we make it to here, then we're good.
Yeah.
Make an invite code with our cute little function there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So what we're not going to do in this talk is we're not actually going to send the invite off, right? But we are going to update Google Sheets. So update rows by querying it like database. Again, remember A through I is where our data lives, where our email is equal to the message value. And we're going to set, for example, here, the Discord ID to discord.id. Excellent. In the interest of time, because I'm not going to go through all of these, I have here, here's one I baked earlier. Basically, it sets the Discord ID, the Discord discriminator, the numbers after the ID, the numbers after the username, sorry, the actual username itself, the expiration of the invite, which is, this gets us milliseconds, times 1,000 gets us seconds, times 60 gets us minutes, 30 minutes. So you have 30 minutes from when they text you that we've set to email to actually respond with your email. And then we also save the actual invite code. So save her up. And if we've been very, very lucky, then this should work more or less out the gate. So if we respond with our email to check in,
please. Yay! Success!
We did it. All right, so we sent us an invite code, and we just DM'd it because we're not going to, again, dig through our emails. All right, so, oh my god, I can't tell you how nervous we were that was going to work.
Yeah. So now that we got an invite code, we now need to set up the bot to process the verification. So we'll edit the endpoint so that way it triggers when the bot receives DMs. Edit the same invite, but then this time, if the bot sees a verification code, it's going to check the database for the Discord associated with it. So we're going to verification code. We're going to go look at it. If the verification matches and the Discord user is able to check in, set their roles correctly, the way they can access the server, and then send them a little welcome message, say welcome to our hackathon, etc.
All right. So let's do that. So let's start with checking if we The message that we got starts with the 0x. Remember, that's the prefix for all of our invite codes. It just makes our life a little easier. Yeah, so now we have an invite. So we actually now
Yep.
need to check a bunch of errors, right? So we're gonna make
Yep.
sure that we can do this. Let's swap back here.
All right. So a little error handling. First, we're going to check to see if the hacker even exists in the first place. If they don't exist in our database, then they never actually sent us an email address. So we tell them, you need to send me your email first. Then we're going to check to see if the verification code has expired. If it has, we let them know. Then we're going to see if the verification code matches. If it does, then if it doesn't, we'll let them know. And then finally, we're going to check if they're already checked in. And if they're already checked in, we'll let them know. But if they pass all of those, then we're going to be able to give them access to the server, which will be nice.
All right. So to turn that into code again, Julia Child. Here's one we baked earlier. Um, so here we check if they have a user, right? So if they've already sent us their email, we check that this hasn't expired by getting the current timestamp, coercing our string out of the database into a number using plus. Now, if the time is greater than the expiration timestamp, then it's expired. Otherwise, if they sent us a different invite code, that's not cool. Or if they're already checked in, then that's not cool, right? But now, if we get to here, then we're like, great, we did it. Let us update our system, right? So we are going to lib.googlesheets.update rows in the spreadsheet by querying it like a database. Again, A through I. Again, we're updating where the Discord ID is equal to discord.id. Right, so we're getting the row by the ID. And the fields we're setting is Discord. So we're setting checked in, which let me double check that that's what that's called. Also, you can see that it's already written the sort of, he started checking in into our database, and checked in is the thing that we're going to be writing. So we're going to write that, and we're going to call it like yes. I finished configuring. So that's good. Next step, we're going to give them roles, right? So let's lib.discord guild role, or no, hang on, add role to guild member. There we are. So the role ID is what we said earlier. So process.env.hacker role ID. Our user ID is the one that we just got. So again, discord.id. And our guild ID is the one that we said earlier in our environment variables again. So guild, and that's behind the thing for you again. So oopsie daisy. Move that down here so you can kind of see. There, let me just click finish configuring. So we add the final thing there, and we're all set. Perfect. And then last but not least, we are going to send them a little bit of information about the hackathon, which we can just do this to the reply. Welcome to Double Secret Hackcon Hacks. Save that. All right, I'm not missing any pieces here. That's everything.
No, I think that's everything. Yeah.
Oh my
So-
god.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. With all that, now we get to test it out.
All right.
Go send the DM over.
So yep, let's do FA6A7F. Let's try to get it wrong first. Let's make it a D at the end. It should be unhappy at us. And so if I send it again to F, then I'm back in double secret hack on hacks.
And if you go check the server,
you see,
you now have access to the double secret lounge.
I am in the double secret lounge, and I have been given the double secret hacker role. And if we look at our demo database, then you can see it's written that we're checked in.
Yep. And so when MLH comes to us and says, "Hey, who is everyone that checked in?" we can tell you that Patrick's favorite color is blue, and he checked in.
Here's what he looks like online. Here's his ID. his expiration checked in. If you go a few rows over, it's got my social security number and everything.
All right. And with that, that's kind of how you build it. We've set up, we have a Notion page set up that has all the information from this talk, as well as like some other things. So we'll have the GitHub there. It'll have links to AutoCode. We're currently still working on making sure everything is available. We're getting the GitHub situated, but it is there. And we'll post that after the talk and everything. You can see we have some stuff there now. And yeah, we want to, with our like last 4 minutes or something, we're going to open up the chat to see if you have any questions. Like if you have like, how would you add this feature to it, or just questions in general about being our hackathon's tech team leads, what it means to code for your hackathon, how every day is a hackathon when you are coding for a hackathon. We can start telling jokes. Got any good jokes, Patrick?
I'm full of jokes, but none that I'm allowed to tell on stream.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, how different is this with the new version of the Discord API? And like, did that enable new functionality that you all were able to tap into?
Yeah. So with the new Discord API, that introduced buttons recently. So you were able to like, in the past, it was all emojis, and it would be like, oh, click an emoji, click like the check-in emoji to get people to check in. And there, we got tickets. So we had like a ticket bot set up as well, where people can submit a ticket if they have a check-in question. And we'd get people like, hey, how do I check in? And it's like, click the emoji. What emoji? They're like, and then they'd click like the emoji in the message or anything. So having like an actual physical button really helped.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really helpful. Any other questions from chat here?
Yes, this is the URL, by the way.
URL.
This is the page where you can find everything. So it's got links to the URL, links to join the server, links to the source code and the slides, and we can put them up after the talk.
There you go.
Yep.
Awesome.
Also
I can
there,
post that in chat for you too.
Yeah, I just
it looks like someone else was able to.
That was me.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much. That was a great talk.
Thanks for coming.
You want to finish it up?
All right. I'm Paul. You can find me there on my website. It has links to social medias and stuff.
And I'm Patrick. You can find me on my website there, and it's got also links and everything that you could want.
Incredible domain name, by the way. I'm very impressed.
Thank you. I'm very.
It was a
proud
pain
of it.
to get, I'd imagine.
I had to pretend to be Georgian.
On that note, thanks, folks. Really enjoyed the workshop. You can find them on Discord later if you have more questions.